If you are married and you are filing taxes in this country, under almost no circumstances do you want to file separately. If you file married jointly, it is beneficial to you. It is more tax beneficial to you in almost all situations. If you have to file as a single person and you're not married at all, if somehow you can become a head of household, that also is better than just single. Maybe you can say that you're helping with an elderly auntie or grandma or something. If you can find some way to have a dependent of any kind, that head of household status, it's not like you get, for instance, a child tax credit for that. But head of household status means that you are providing the majority of the care and they don't even have to live with you. You just have to provide the majority of the care. But it creates a huge tax benefit. But married filing jointly is the best tax advantage that you can get, except possibly getting capital gains instead of having any personal employment income. Because employment income is taxed pretty high and capital gains is taxed pretty low. But married filing jointly is just power. A lot of people seem to be very against marriage for a lot of reasons involving lack of continued traditional beliefs and religious beliefs and things like that. But also a lot of loneliness is just taken over in our society and in our country, and a lot of distrust seems to be really prevalent between the opposite gender. They really seem to be worried that the other gender is only out for themselves. And that's not everyone, thankfully, but it does seem to be a prevailing thing. Also, divorce rates are still high. They're still half. They're actually slightly over half. And divorce is so expensive. Divorce is so painful. It is not a great thing. Some people do make out like a bandit because of divorce, but the majority of the time, divorce is pretty hard for everyone involved. So people want to avoid the heartache. They want to avoid the pain of it. But if you can find someone that you can do life with, even if maybe they're not the most perfect person you ever met in your entire life, but you know they're trustworthy, you guys can count on each other, you're reliable, maybe you have an open relationship of some sort, whatever. If you can do marriage is very, very beneficial. When it comes to taxes, it's beneficial. When it comes to having like someone you can depend on in life, it's beneficial. When it comes to raising a family, it's beneficial. When it comes to longevity and close interpersonal relationships, enhancing your quality of life, your length of life, your overall health, it's beneficial. I have met a lot of people who are like, oh, don't do marriage. I've met a lot of men in specific who are saying, don't do marriage. There's nothing good for a guy in marriage. Men and women both have increased longevity for their life, according to research. So men would benefit from that as well. Men actually get a little bit longer of longevity than women do, but both get longer, happier, healthier lives from a good marriage. Doesn't even have to be a perfect marriage, just a decent one. And B, if there's not a divorce, it is financially just going to launch you in life. The people who get married young and stay married their whole lives, by the time they're in retirement, they're fine. The majority of the time, they're okay because they had each other financially to lean on. Not even just emotionally or in a crisis, but financially. You get so many tax breaks and you get that financial partner in life. So as long as you're compatible, as long as you're on the same page about things like finances, family, future goals, common interests, but at least one interest not the same, beliefs, communication, circumstances are good, you can be attracted to each other. Marriage has a lot of benefits. That said, don't just dive into a marriage just to not be single. It's really important to answer those questions, to actually talk to someone, to make sure that you really would be there for each other through hard times. And if the one thing that's your hesitation is intercourse, that's work aroundable. As long as you guys openly communicate about it, to me, I've seen so many people have successful relationships that weren't just purely monogamous, that I know it's possible with a lot of communication. People seem to really stick to the idea of this one person has to be everything to me, and they have to fulfill every role and fill every need. And you can love someone and they don't fill every single void. I am not currently married. I'm not currently even in a relationship. I am not currently in a relationship with multiple people or an open relationship or anything like that. But I am saying, if I met someone and we were compatible, I would be open to marriage. Yes, part of that's financial, but really, I want that longevity, that close interpersonal relationship, that connection, that reliability, that consistency, that coming home and it's the same face every time. And there's something really comforting about that. That kind of stability is really good for the mind. And yes, there are risks. And yes, you could get like a prenup, and that can help. Prenup, they're super. I highly recommend them. They're so cost effective. If there was a divorce, minimum, the lawyer fees are going to be like $7,000, and the prenup is like $2,000. On top of that, if you get a decent prenup, it's very helpful. But be aware that there are certain states where it's just communal law, and everything going into the marriage is whatever, but once you're married, everything is 50-50. It doesn't matter what kind of prenup. You're just going to be 50-50 for the most part. The other thing is prenups are breakable. If they are too one-sided and one person just has everything and the other person has nothing, that's not going to fly in court. So do be aware that your prenup needs to have clauses in it so that whoever is the poorer person coming out of the relationship, they will be taken care of to some sort of way or degree. Because if you just have they get nothing, that all they need is a decent lawyer, and that's going to get thrown out. So do be careful with those. But in actuality, even besides that, marriage, it has risks, but it's just so worth the risk for that kind of contentment in life. And yes, there'll be arguments sometimes, and yes, sometimes relationships really do go really south. I have experienced that. I have experienced that very hard, and I still would say it's worth it. There is something to be said for loving yourself. But if you are alone with yourself all the time and you don't have any other relationships, you're in an echo chamber. You're not actually growing or developing your life. If you are deluded into thinking so, then I guess that's your delusion. But the truth is we do need each other as human beings. We do depend on each other as human beings. Even introvert. And I say that as someone who's very introverted a lot of the time. We need each other. Life is better even if you had every resource you needed. All your basic needs were provided for. You're a trust fund inherited baby, and you got your food, your water, your electricity, your internet, your housing, all of it's all covered. all your basic stuff. You got to go to school. You don't even have to do a job if you don't want to, like, whatever. You have no reason to interact with other people from a resource perspective. You would still crave people because people add so much good to life. And yes, there's some people who don't. Some people you're just not compatible with. Some people are every rare once in a while actually just kind of predatory, but those are very rare. The majority of people just want to live and let live, but they have differing perspectives on how to do so. But they're still valuable. They still add so much to life. Interact with other people. Talk with other people. Get to know other people. Go places where you can interact with people. Play a video game where it's multiplayer. Do something where you interact with others. And maybe it'll end up that you fall in love. Maybe it'll end up that you end up in a relationship. Maybe it'll even end up in a marriage. Maybe not. But isolation is not gonna help. Isolation breaks people. There are a lot of people struggling with depression and anxiety and struggling in life because of isolation. It hurts. It hurts more than just your finances. But it does also hurt your